Now, we come to the crux. A couple of years ago, I wrote this book called, it's not really translatable in English, but it means On Creativity, basically. And in this book, because not only have I been a creative artist for almost 30 years, I've also taught for over 25 years, taught university, I've taught at the Taiwan National Arts University, I've taught at Stanford, at Yale, back at Berkeley. I had a problem, which is, can creativity be taught? And in my mind, I would always go, no, it can't be taught, because you either have it or you don't. And this is what probably all of my professors, when I was learning, this is what they thought. And they would think, we will give you the methods to be creative, but whether or not you're creative, that's up to you, and that's your own thing. And it sounds totally reasonable, but for many years I felt frustrated, because as a teacher, I could not make the non-creative person creative. I could make the creative person better. I could not make the non-creative person creative. And I thought, maybe my professors at Berkeley would say, don't worry about it. But I was worrying about it. One day when I was traveling in India, it suddenly dawned upon me, this, from Buddhism, a saying about wisdom and method. The quote comes from Atisha. Wisdom without skillful means, and skillful means too without wisdom, are referred to as bondage. Therefore, do not give up either. I think in any walk of life, in any industry, in anything, wisdom and method are the two necessities. If you only have method, if you're a Buddhist practitioner, you only have method, you're going mantras every day, 1 million mantras a day, but you don't know what you're really practicing. You're doing method without wisdom, you're not going to get too far. On the other hand, we all know people who talk about theory all the time, but they have no idea how to implement it. And they're not going to get too far either if you really want to succeed in making something or creating something. So suddenly I thought, the problem with us is that we have been training people in creativity only in one domain, which is method. But actually, there are two domains that have to be trained. And the method training happens in school, in your own art, in your own industry, in your own business. The wisdom cannot happen in the training for method. The wisdom has to happen somewhere else. And I put that place in life, just as a quote. I would put it, the domain of life, we train wisdom. The domain of art, we train for method. Training in method is everywhere, but where is the training for wisdom? Okay, here is the catch. Because who in the world can define what is wisdom these days? If anyone, particularly any government, came out and said, the definition of wisdom is as follows, blah, 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 go by it, I think you'd be in trouble. If any professor at MIT would offer a course on wisdom, I think you would be in trouble. You might even be apprehended, you'd be some sort of a cult or something like that. Let's check what Webster's have to say. Wisdom is the quality of being wise. That's cheating, isn't it? You can't write a dictionary and say wisdom is the quality of being wise. Okay, that means we have to go and find out what is wise. Okay, so wise is characterized by wisdom. Webster's is conceding, hey, we don't have a clue. But I've given it some thought, and in a democratic society, it's true. No one person can define or has the power to say, this is wisdom, this is wise. Go lead your life this way. But on the other hand, I mean, that's great. We all have to find our own wisdom. But on the other hand, how are we getting it done? Is it possible that everything we have learned since we were kids is method, and there is no entity available to teach wisdom? Does any university offer Wisdom 101? How about advanced wisdom? Yeah. If this is true, is it also possible that all of our education is learning on the periphery, and that we have to tend for the center by ourselves? I think this is true. This is true. I've challenged my Stanford students on this, and they said, yeah, you're right. I said, you've known this? Yeah, we've known this. So what are you going to do about it? We don't know. You know, and it's assumed that we go to Stanford, we're learning method. No one's teaching and no one's learning wisdom. Sure, we all do, but there's no real structured way to learn wisdom. I have another minute or so. So my conclusion will be that creative visions for the coming decade must be built from the center and not from the periphery. In ancient times, why did disciples decide to spend their lives following Socrates, Sakyamuni, Confucius? They decided to follow these sages to learn the one course that these sages offered, and that course was called wisdom. Today, if Socrates was around, we'd go to a workshop by him and get a diploma or something, a certificate, and say, hey, I did a workshop with Socrates, or I did 2 weeks of workshop with Sakyamuni, so, you know, maybe my office will give me a raise or something like that. A humble offering on wisdom. In Chinese, the term for knowledge is 学问, which means learn to ask. So instead of learning answers, we should learn how to ask deep questions. The deepest questions are not necessarily complex, but simple. The honest questions one must ask myself. As an artist, I must ask myself, why am I doing what I am doing? The motivations for doing what we are doing in our art, in our industry, in our life, these are the questions we should be asking. And these are in my humble opinion, this is the way to cultivate wisdom, is to ask the simple, the honest questions. Wisdom is the key to creativity, and I think creativity is the key to the future. Thank you, and good day to all.